Started your thesis, you've got an advisor, everything looks good, but I'm here to tell you today that your advisor is nuts. He's a crazy person, he's gonna react emotionally to things, and you need to manage that. Now, how do I know your advisor is crazy? Well, if you think about everyone you know, like everyone you know well, like your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your close friends, they're all nuts, right? They all react emotionally to things. They're very good at some things. They're overreact to other things. They're human beings, right? And your advisor is a human being, and so your advisor is going to do the things that human beings do, and that's going to involve reacting emotionally to things. And in particular, reacting emotionally to things related to your thesis. But of course, that's kind of generic. It's true of anybody. And so it's nothing new. But in fact, thesis advisors are typically nuts in some particular ways. So let's talk about those today. They've got all the stuff that humans have, right? They have fights with their spouses, and they've got, nearly get in an accident on the way to work, and it makes them nervous, and all of that. And that's just life, right? These people have things, and they have bad days and they have good days. And it's your job to manage that. Well, it doesn't seem fair that it's your job, right? It's you're trying to do a thesis. You shouldn't have to deal with their crazy. But in fact, you do, because you are in this relationship with this person, a one-on-one relationship with this person, and it's an asymmetric relationship. That is, this relationship is more important to you than it is to them. Now, it is important to them. It's not like it's nothing to them, right? They want you to do well. They want you to do, write a great thesis. They want you to find the job of your dreams. They want you to get into the grad school of your dreams. They want all of this stuff. They want all good things for you. And they want to help you write a good thesis. They honestly do. But, if it doesn't work out, they're going to be sad, but it's not a big deal to them. But it is a big deal to you, right? So this relationship is more important to you than it is to them. And so it behooves you to be thinking proactively about how to make that relationship work better, because you're obviously going to care more than they will. So how does this emotional stuff affect you? Obviously, they're human beings. They got emotions, and that's what you're going to do. That's who we are. But how does it affect you? Well, in principle, it wouldn't have to, right? In principle, you could be going along, they could be having a bad day, and in an ideal world, they would say, well, I'm having a bad day, you have this thesis issue, and those are two completely separate issues, and they attach the rational part of their brain to your thesis, and the irrational part of their brain, they'd go off and do whatever wacko things they want to do. But human beings aren't really that way. Things leak over. So if you're having a bad day and someone brings you something and you don't really like it, it's easy to attach those emotions to this thing and evaluate it accordingly. And particularly our guys, economists, are particularly bad at this. Right? We have this mythology that they have a perfectly rational consumer, and that consumer is dealing with everything in a completely analytical way. And our whole profession emphasizes the importance of analytical, rational thinking, and that's all well and good. And we have this mythology that's how people behave. Of course, it's not entirely how people behave. People have a rational side, sure, but they also have an emotional side. But us, as a profession, we're not trained to be thinking in things in those kind of terms. So, for example, suppose you were doing a thesis in poetry, right? And your advisor is a poet. Poets think in emotional terms. That's the whole point of the thing, is to elicit emotions, right? And so they're thinking in emotional terms. They're realizing that if they're a good poet, they're going to have an emotional reaction to things, and they would take steps to be aware of how their emotions affect things. But our guys, we're not trained that way, right? We're trained to think completely rationally, completely analytically about everything, and we're not trained to even address the emotional side of things. And so very often, when you have an emotional reaction to something, it's easy to let that slide into other stuff. Now, what can you do about this? Not a lot. You're dealing with an emotional person, and he's potentially stunted in his ability to deal with those emotions in a work environment, what can you do? You just got to deal with that. But it does behoove you to be aware, right? Be aware that your advisor will have good days and bad days. And being aware is 90% of the job, right? Once you're aware that this is an issue and that they may attach their emotional feelings to your work in some way, then you can, hey, my advisor's having a bad day. What do I do? Well, maybe, hey, we can do this on Thursday instead. Have this meeting on Thursday when, it'd be easier for you, easier for me, and right? Don't bring the hard problems on those days and bring, deal with them, be aware of their emotional state. Now this is true of all humans, right? All interactions with humans have this issue. In economics, we can largely ignore it because very often we're dealing with large agglomerations of people or agglomerations over time. And so, yeah, it's going to average out. But of course, this is a one-on-one thing. And so it's going to be more important for you. And one place where I want to make you particularly aware of something that happens with academics. So, the whole range of human troubles, your advisor can and will have them, and you should be aware of that and do your best you can to work around that. But there's some things that are particular to academics that you might not be aware of that you really should be. So the life of an academic has this one particular issue. Like, what is your advisor getting out of this? Why is your advisor advising you in the first place? They're not going to get more money for it most places. They're not going to get a lot, there's no real material benefits to doing it. They're mostly doing it for they think it's their job, right? They think it's their job to bring along the new people. I think it's their job to teach the new generation, and that's great. Now, the fact of the matter is, in most places, if they didn't do that part of their job, they would still be fine. But they feel a responsibility to do it. So they're doing it out of a sense of responsibility to the profession and to you. They're also doing it out of sort of a sense of obligation. Like way back in the day, somebody was their advisor, and that was helpful to them along their way. And they feel like, as a human being, they should give back in the same way they received when they were young. And so that's a motivation as well. But one thing that's sort of less obvious is that academics in general are experts on one very specific thing. They're working in, economics is big. They're working in one little niche of economics, doing one sort of thing, and they're really, really good at that one thing. How do we know they're really good? Well, they got to the position they're in. They must be good at something. And the vast majority of the people who will be your advisor, that are likely to be advisors, are in fact really, really good at some little niche thing. But it's a little niche thing, right? And so when they go out, and they go out to, say, a conference, or they get invited to a seminar, they go out into the world outside of their university, they're being invited by somebody that is in that niche. And so those people out in the world, they know what your advisor did, right? And say, everyone's eager to talk to him. People line up to meet this person to say, here's the guy who did this very specific but really interesting, useful thing. And they know of his work, and they know of his contribution, and he's world-renowned in that little niche. And so when he goes out into the world, he's a bit of a celebrity. And this happens even to relatively junior people. They become a bit of a celebrity in their little niche because they're really good at that one thing, and they've done that thing. And so you go out into the world, and as an academic, people know your value, and you feel important, you feel respected. And then in your home institution, not so much, right? Because an institution, one little institution like your university, they can't have everybody work in that little niche. Otherwise, how are they going to teach other stuff? They need to have people from all kinds of different areas. And so nobody in the home institution even really knows what your guy did. He's famous and well-known outside in the world, but in his home institution, he's just some guy who did a dumb thing last week, right? And people don't even know the contribution and how he helped along things and how he solved that problem that everyone was having. They don't know any of that. And so he goes out into the world and he's Taylor Swift, and everyone's lining up to see him and talk to him, and he's so important. And he comes back to his home institution, and he's just the guy who does the dumb thing, right? Because that's all they see is his normal interactions. They don't see the thing that he's an expert at. right? And so a general thing in academia is that people feel more respected outside the institution than they do inside the institution. And this is just by nature of the fact that research has to be very specific. And so only very specific people are going to know what you do, right? And so what will happen is, just at an emotional level, your advisor will feel important in the world, but less important at home. And this is generally true. And so one of the things that people get out of working with students in like advising them on their theses is one of the things that they're getting emotionally is they're getting somebody who knows their value, right? Who can see that they're doing this thing. And so they want to get a little bit of a mentor-mentee relationship going on. They want somebody who looks at them with respect and cares what they have to say and this kind of thing. Now, this isn't, particularly rational, but it is something that people are hoping to get out of it. Which means that as a student, it is useful for you to make sure that they're getting out of this what they want. So you should learn their work. You should know what they're doing so that you can see why they're world-renowned in this little niche, right? And you should, when they talk, you should listen to what they have to say. You're not always going to agree with it, and you shouldn't always agree with it, right? You're supposed to be thinking. You're not supposed to just be parroting back whatever you hear, but you should really hear it when it's said. Agree, disagree is different, but you should honestly hear it, and you should be interested in hearing it. And you should appear interested in hearing it. Lots of times you're interested, but it doesn't show on the outside. That can be a problem for you because the person will say, not logically, but emotionally, will say, well, this guy not even being respectful. He's not even caring what I have to say, but I know all this stuff, but he's not interested in getting it. It's a bad student, and it's very easy for that emotion to leak over into how they evaluate your thesis. And so it's very helpful. And you'll learn more too if you engage with that person and you say, okay, my advisor, he knows he's not going to be perfect on everything. I'm not going to agree with him on everything, but I should really try to hear what he has to say and also really try to show that I'm hearing what he has to say. Now, don't be a suck-up. Nobody likes a suck-up. Oh, you're so great. People will see through that in an instant. But if you can show a genuine interest, that is really helpful. And as I said, this is something that's a problem for just about every academic in one form or another. And so it is helpful to be aware of that as you're going through, right? Be aware of their good days, bad days, that this guy doesn't like the color blue because something happened when he was 3. Be aware of their emotions as you're going through because they can leak over to you. And also be aware of this general problem that academics have. And one of the things they're trying to get from helping you is somebody who sees them and sees the value that they bring to the table. And so you should try to show them that you see them. Not always agree, but that you see the values that they bring to the table and communicate that to them. And the easiest way to do that is to actually see the value that they bring to the table, actually be interested in what they have to say. Again, whether you agree with it or not, it should be of interest to you. You should actively listen, okay, when you have meetings with the guys.